Hey everybody, it's Book of Katherine and welcome to Insider Movies Thanksgiving Edition Season 2, Episode 4, Week 4, Capsule 4. We are here and we are going to do it. Happy Thanksgiving. I'm glad you guys had a really good Thanksgiving, a very active one. If you guys didn't see what went down on Thanksgiving, I ended up posting a whole host of videos and I will link them all down below. All right, let's go ahead and get started on Episode 4, Capsule 4. I know I have a different background. I'm going to write them on this little list for you so that you still have a list to go ahead and see. Let's do this. Week 4. I can't wait. I really, really love these movies. I'm very, very, very grateful for them. I really love them. You're going to have such a great weekend. Okay, so I'm not doing alphabetical order or anything like that. We're just going to go on through them in the order I have them. So number 1 is Gosford Park. This is a whole range of years. This actually goes all the way back to 1954. So yeah, Gosford Park. So Gosford Park is one of my favorite movies of all time. So if you watched the Jerry Weintraub film that I talked about at the beginning of this year, the beginning of almost a year ago now, 2018, it's called His Way. And he talks about Robert Altman in that, and he funded one of Robert Altman's screenplays. And so it's very, very different. Robert Altman's a very, very unique filmmaker. And it's a really good, when you learn about a lot of different behind the scenes things and when you watch His Way, which is why I recommended that you see it. So, but if you watched any of his movies that is talked about in that film, you'll be really surprised by Gosford Park, because Gosford Park is set in Britain. It's set in the times of Downton Abbey, and it's very, very different. And one of the things that I will say is, maybe it's just my hearing. I know that, some of my sensory systems have gone, so it could just be me, but I had to really listen closely. I had to listen very closely. There is so much talking going on. Actually, now that I've seen His Way, I can understand why that is. But there's a lot of dialogue going on, and I don't like missing a word of dialogue. If you saw my Twitter feed today on Friday, November 30th, you would understand I was talking a lot about that. I said a lot of things today on November 30th, 2018. I said a lot. It was the day of the Jordan Peterson and Dave Rubin and Ben Shapiro, their second meeting, and I had so much to say, and I installed another shelf. I'm very, very excited. So anyway, it's going to be one of those videos, Gosford Park. So it's one of my favorite movies of all time. It's 2001. It's Robert Altman. I didn't mention the best part. The best part is that it is an all-star cast, which Robert Altman does do. He's kind of famous for, because everyone wants to work with him. I mean, everyone wants to work with him. And this is, I believe, Robert Altman's last film before he passed away. And you will see the kind of stars that he attracted to his film. And this has like everyone from Maggie Smith, all the way down. Oh my gosh. I mean, we're talking everyone from British to American, Kristen Scott Thomas. Now, it's made in 2001. And so for you, the names, you may not know them all for now, because this was 2001, 20 years ago. But for back then, they were the biggest names. Like, for example, Kristen Scott Thomas had just done like a huge Oscar-winning movie. So you have to kind of know movie history to know that all these names were absolutely massive names of the time. Every single one of them were just huge stars. And so, my goodness, he just had every single big name in the book on this set. And you want to watch all of them. That's why I didn't want to miss any dialogue. I was just hanging on every single word. I didn't want to miss anything. And so now when I watch it, I always have it's another movie, kind of like, it's like the drama version of, Austenland. That was the comedy version. This is like the drama version of Austenland in a movie that I watch all the time. Like if I'm just feeling like I want to watch something to feel better, Gosford Park is the one that I watch, but I don't watch it with a group. Like I watch it on my own, and I just kind of like hold it like a warm blanket, and I just like munch on it, because it's just so good. And it is very rich in texture. remember how I talked about Annie? And I realized as I was watching that Insider Movies back, when I was watching that back, I was like, that's how I got good taste, was because I had movies like Annie, like all the theater that the home theater that I had stacked, that the family had stacked, had movies that were made very, very well, because Hollywood used to stack, it used to have diversity of mind, and so it wasn't like diversity based on other things. The diversity was on mind. It was only the best of the best rose to the top in their actual skill fields. They were looking for a diversity of thought. That's what I look for in diversity, is the diversity of ideas. And so when you get a wide diversity of ideas and range, what happens is that you get the high quality of movie. And also we learned from Who Killed Homer, Victor Davis Hanson's first book, we learned that also the classics used to be taught, which we've now learned is the basis of Western civilization. And that's why movie writing has gone down so much. That's why we've lost like understanding of human nature. So my point is that it is so deep in texture, and the reason that I noticed that and I have a taste for it is because I was raised on these movies written by people that were still on a university system that taught the classics, that they knew all these things, and so they were taught the classics. Even the costume designers were taught the classics. Like if you watch the TV show Fame, those are the arts you can see in those art schools. They were teaching the classics and Latin and all those sorts of things. The basis of Western civilization were still being taught. And that TV show is amazing. Fame, you have to know that anyway. So it's something I think you will all love and all enjoy. And even though it's about dance and music and everything, but you'll see how the classics affected schooling back then, and when it was still being taught right before it turned, right before the university systems and the schooling systems all turned. You'll get to see how things used to be taught and what a different kind of nature schooling was right before it ended. And so you'll understand how things like Annie were made. And then Gosford Park is, made by creators. So all the costume designing and everything like that. Such a high level. Oh, so beautiful. And so the writing is up, just this incredibly high writing. And the acting is just, because they attracted all the best actors, this incredibly high writing. And it's one of the last films that was ever made. Remember, there's this huge switch after the year 2000, this huge switch in Hollywood. And part of that is the writer's strike, but the writer's strike was the last hurrah where they moved out all the conservatives, the ones who were publicly conservatives. They moved, that turns out that was just a cover to move all the last conservatives out of Hollywood. And we didn't know any of that at the time. It was just the last thing to get all the writers they wanted out. And it's, yeah, okay, I can't talk about any of that. There's other stuff that went on, and I'm really sad. So it's a good opportunity to see like the last of it before it died. So number 2 is Italian Job. All right, so there was a 1969 version. I know there's a 69 version. I haven't seen it because I love the 2003 version. And that one has, I call him Marky Mark, but really it's Mark Wahlberg and Charlize Theron, and I know that whatever. So I always say there's people off camera, and then there's people on camera, and I always look at just the work, right? So just the work on camera. I love The Italian Job. I love The Italian Job 2003. It's another movie that I can watch all the time. My husband's sick of it because he had to do a gig one time where he was just gone forever, and that's all they played in the hotel they put him in. And that's all he saw. And he was just like, oh my God, if I ever see it again, right? So and I was just like, but I love that movie. I love that song. Every time I'm like, oh, I want to see, oh, that's such a good, and he's just like, kill me. And I'm like, oh, dang it. So we used to both love that movie, and not anymore. So, but it's just my movie now. But I love The Italian Job. I love that movie. And Donald Sutherland, his father, and again, the whole cast is really good. It's kind of like Sneakers, but like a version that came after Sneakers, like the one with Robert Redford. Just an all-around great cast. It's like drama, but it's also comedy, and it's action. It's a good theft movie, like a more lighthearted version of Ocean's 11, not nearly to the level of Ocean's 11, but just a good caper, funny, lighthearted. You'll see what I mean. It's one that you can like watch with the whole family. It's nice middle. There's not a lot of movies you can watch with the whole, kind of like Star Trek, The Next Generation. You know, you could sit at night with the whole family and watch it. That's kind of what The Italian Job was like, I believe. I haven't hung out with enough kids lately to really know, but all right. But that's just, I love that movie because you can see it anytime, any place, no matter how you're feeling. All right, so I discovered that much later. Again, I discovered that in Something Like Him, like I discovered afterwards and on something that was on replay. But I was like, ooh, I just keep replaying. I was like, this is great. I love it. I'm a movie person. All right. So the next one is, and this one's huge, is Hunt for Red October. And I should say The Italian Job, probably everyone in Hollywood's going to be like, no, 1969 one. So The Italian Job, I should say, like Gosford Park, Hollywood directors are going to expect you to know Gosford Park. They're going to expect you to know Robert Altman. For sure, and especially the last one, because it was like the last one he did before he died, and it was in all the Oscars. Gosford Park was huge at the Oscars. The Italian Job, the 2003, even though everyone loves it, and it's kind of like, it's candy, like it's movie candy that you can watch all the time. I wouldn't say that it's, they all know it, but I wouldn't say they're going to be like, it's going to be on a test, if that makes sense. Hunt for Red October, maybe the first one, but no one said anything to me. No one's ever been like, you need to watch this before. They're all like, yay, it's on, but they're not saying it's, so. All right, Hunt for Red October. Now that one, you gotta know. Like Hunt for Red October, 1990, you got to know that one. You gotta know it. You gotta know it. Hunt for Red October. Oh, I said I'd be writing these down. Hold on. All right, so that's where we are so far. Gosford Park, Italian Job, Hunt for Red October. I'll hold that up for a little bit. So you got to know Hunt for Red October. Oh, this is scary seeing my handwriting up close like that. We don't want to see that, right? So we'll hold it back there. So Hunt for Red October, you got to know. You got to know. You got to know. And you have had to know that since the beginning of it. It was a massive smash hit, kind of like Jurassic Park was. Like, this was like before Jurassic Park. It was Hunt for Red October. It was just that big. It was like big. And that was in the theater forever. It was like Hunt for Red October, then Jurassic Park, and then it was Titanic. Like, it was just like, this is like 5 years later, then 5 years later, then boom. Like these were the big things. And so they played, you know, back then movies stayed in theaters for much longer. And I just remember like, I couldn't believe Hunt for Red October, like I was a little kid, and they took me to the theater for that anyway. And I was like, you're taking me to Hunt for Red October? But it was still in the theater, and like my dad was so excited that I was still in the, he would like sneak me in the theaters. My dad, you know what, I'm starting to wonder if my dad was still responsible. They just, you know, so he got snuck in, like, that's another story. So I'm very thankful. Very thankful for stories. Very thankful for stories. So even though it's rated R, very bad, I don't care. I loved it. And, you know, like, your parent is like everything. You'll do anything to make them happy. But I didn't care. I needed it. I needed story. And so I'm very grateful. Like, I'm very grateful for it. I'm like, thank you. And so another reason that you'll really love it, it was based on a book. I think it was like a Tom Clancy novel. Boy, if I'm wrong about that, I'm going to get in a lot of trouble. Woo-wee. So, but it is based on a big spy novel. Back then, I believe spy novels were super huge. I think they're still super huge. I don't know. I'm pretty sure that they are. It's just, I think they went down because now they're just so shadow authored. Like, the authors themselves don't write them anymore. And it's been going for like 40 years. But this time, oh my gosh, Hunt for Red October was just so massive. What it will be a good reminder, though, as well, is that this is during the time, I believe it came out in 1990, and then the Soviet Union fell in 91. So it came out before the Soviet Union fell. I think the Berlin Wall had already fallen, and so it was right in that tipping point. It was right in that tipping point, and I think the world could kind of feel it, we could feel that peace was coming, and the Cold War had been going on, and we'd all felt this like horrible thing. And then it was like this denuclearization was happening. And, you know, but you never thought that the Soviet Union would actually fall. And it's a kind of military movie that they don't make anymore. They used to make these big military movies. And now that I think of it, I think that, remember how I said that we used to have these war movies coming out that talked about the American military in a positive light, and that used to come out, the fight for freedom and the fight for the American military, and that used to come out all the time, like every other year, and something that was positive about the American military every year. There's something that's gone. Like, that's gone from Hollywood. You will never see that. And now we know that's China's influence. And now we know how much of that is the UN influence after what we just found out about the bribes through the UN. And their links to China. Boy, that China Uncensored did that side. Holy moly, everything came out today. So anyway, so it's a very, very sad thing because we have outside communist regimes that are now influencing Hollywood with millions, if not billions by now, of dollars from our buying power we spend on them, and then they come and use that money on us. Other communist regimes come and give our Hollywood movie makers money in order to sell out the U.S. military and make sure they don't send it in a positive light. Even though you'll see Hunt for Red October, big, huge moneymaker. You know, Top Gun, big, huge moneymaker. And it's not even that they're like putting it in a positive light. It's just they're, you know, it wasn't putting them in a negative light or just eliminating them altogether. You know, and I think part of it too is that it talks about two nations. It talks about America versus Russia. And if you notice, that's the big thing they're paying them not to do, is that a globalist agenda. There aren't supposed to be countries. They're supposed to be like the migration plan. The migration replacement is supposed to be there's no such thing as borders. We are a one world, global, unified country. There are no borders. There's no such thing as the United States. There's no such thing as Mexico. There's no such thing as Russia. We're all one global unity, and the UN is our government. They make the laws that govern us all. And so the movies are supposed to reflect that. And so G.I. Joe was made so that, you know, if you watch G.I. Joe, you know, who does G.I. Joe work for? They don't work for the U.S. They work for an international agency. Who would that be? Watch the military in Hollywood movies now. What would that international agency be that protects the world? Would that fit the UN's description? So, Hunt for Red October, made actually in 1990. That was 1 year before Agenda 21 was signed. Also a good reason to see it. Gosh, that's not even the reason I did it. Oh, so much history. History teaches us so much. Okay, lighter side, Much Ado About Nothing. It's such a good movie, and that's, you know. By the way, Alec Baldwin is that. He's incredible in it. He's incredible with it. And Sean Connery. That's the big thing. People now are like Alec Baldwin, but really Sean Connery. Everyone saw it for Sean Connery. You have to know how big he was. And he was like the guy. And I think he was nominated for stuff. You got to know it for that reason. So, you know, Sean Connery is like, he was everything. He was like megastar because he was 007. He's megastar. And you'll see what age he was a megastar until like the 1990. Like I knew people. Gosh darn it. All right. So I'm like, how far back did it go? All right. Destiny. Much Ado About Nothing. Okay. Much Ado About Nothing was all the way. I can't believe it's this old. Oh, that's right. I saw it in school. I forgot about that. 1993. I forgot about that. So I can't believe that. Much Ado About Nothing. Thank you. You know what? I was wondering how the heck I knew this because it's an independent film. I was wondering that. So because I was like, how in the world would I know this? And it's because it was in class. It's Shakespeare. Okay. And then I showed it to my students. So Much Ado About Nothing. Much Ado About Nothing is a 1993 movie. And back when they were still doing Shakespeare, gosh, that's eliminated now. Dang it. They used to do a Shakespeare movie like every 2 years. Like the Red Curtain movies. What the heck? They're just eliminating like every single bit of Western culture. This is getting harder to do. I am thankful for these movies. So it was also a big thing for Kenneth Branagh, who did Cinderella. And is one of the things that led to him being knighted but he was married to Emma Thompson at the time, which is why it was hysterical, because Much Ado About Nothing, they play the two people who hate each other, like they really like knock heads. Now, here's what was so amazing is because when all these Shakespeare plays were coming out on these movies every other year, another really good one is the Romeo and Juliet one with Claire Danes and Leo DiCaprio. That one's absolutely incredible. But not everyone in there did a good job. Like Claire Danes by far did the best job. Like when she talks, you wouldn't know she's speaking Shakespeare. When she actually does the lines, you'd think that she was talking to you in regular everyday English. She sounds like she's sitting on the couch having a conversation with you. Like genius. Genius. And I swear my students would just be like, they'd be choking up at her performances. Like, gosh, I still get choked up thinking about some of her performances in that movie. So, and that's hard to overplay, you know, get over on Leonardo DiCaprio, so, because it was right after Titanic and she just kind of mowed him over. Okay. Anyway, so I'm like, oh, I get it. Let's see here. So Much Ado About Nothing, Emma Thompson and Kenneth Branagh. That's not the only one. Kate Beckinsale, that launched her career. You know Kate Beckinsale, right? Oh, great. I'm trying to, Dark World. What is it? Oh, I can't believe it. That's one of my favorite movies. Underworld, right? Where she plays with the lichens and everything like that. The Underworld movies. Am I saying it right? So that girl, like when she wears like the leather and and she's like, boom, and she's just like, I love movies. And she's so boss in that movie. She's so boss. First one was the best, but man, that was Kate Beckinsale. Well, she was like launched in Much Ado About Nothing. So launched. And everybody was like, who is that girl? Who is that? She just looks like, she just comes off the screen and like this angel. Actually, it's just, you kind of, I remember as a kid kind of being like, I think I hated her. I was just like, she's too beautiful. But I wasn't as strong back then. I was too young. I hadn't gone to counseling yet. I was like, I hate her. I think it'd be really different today. I'd be like, you go, girl. You work it. Because she's just so beautiful. I mean, that's right. Because now today, I just think she's so phenomenally beautiful. That's right. And all the fashion, I'm always recommending her. Like, yeah, that's right. All right. See, so I have changed. Yeah, she's absolutely amazing. So Denzel's in it. Oh, Denzel's in it. Denzel's in it. Denzel. Oh gosh, it is an absolutely amazing movie. I think Kenneth Branagh actually directed it. And so it's really funny because they play these two characters that like butt heads and it's super, super witty. And they do an excellent job with that was the best part is that everyone except for Keanu Reeves does a great job with the lines. Gosh, even what's his name is in it. Like, I love Keanu, like, don't get me wrong, but he goes in there and he's the only guy with all these people doing a brilliant job with their lines. You're like, what is Keanu Reeves doing in here? Like, I think he just done The Matrix, which is, I think, why he got the part and got to be with all these people. But then you're like, wait a minute. Like, everyone's doing this brilliant job. And then even Mr. Beetlejuice, Michael Keaton actually was in it. And he does an amazing job. And for a long time, I didn't see him as I had loved Beetlejuice. And then I saw him and I was just like, I didn't know which one to see him as because he did such a good job as this other. He kind of played a Beetlejuice-like character. You are going to love Much Ado About Nothing. Let's put it that way. It's going to probably be the first, if you don't know anything about Shakespeare or if you haven't found one that you liked or whatever, you are going to love it. It's a comedy and you're going to freaking love that movie. And you're going to freaking love that movie. It is absolutely phenomenal and you do need to know it. Oh, you're going to love that movie. And just hold on to it. If you are like, you're going to take, if you're at first, you're like, wait a minute, hold on. Like you don't catch it right away. Sit with it. Like I used to, teach this, like sit with it, just sit with it and let it, watch the acting flow over you. Like, don't let the words get to you. Watch the acting because their acting is some of the best. Like, their choreography was absolutely phenomenal. And you can tell what's going on just from the acting. So just be patient and go with it and let it flow over you, and then the words will come over, especially when they start fighting, because their fighting is absolutely hilarious. That's what's absolutely hysterical. And you will pick up, especially when it gets into their fights and then into this rhythm, and then the speech gets slower and less and everything like that, and then they start saying their lines slower. It will come to you, and just stay with it, because it is beyond worth it. You're going to want to. You don't want to miss out on that one. So, and you got to know it anyway. So it's beautiful. The lighting is beautiful. You know what? Actually, the opening there says, you know what? Kenneth Branagh, I remember now. They did a great job in the opening. He didn't hit you boom pow with like any Shakespeare in the beginning. He did this like, you know, pastoral thing and all these women dancing and this beautiful. Yeah, that's right. He was really smart with it. He was really smart with it. So, oh, it was just wonderful. So, so smart. I love that other one that they did. They did another movie together. They're not together anymore, but all right. So the next one. Oh, this is why I love this capsule so much. I will write that down. Ta-da! Much Ado About Nothing. Dink. Oh, such a good movie. Such a damn movie. God, I'm gonna get censored. All right, here we are. Oh boy. 1954, right? 1954, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. I believe one was made in 1905, but this is the one. Big, big movie. You wouldn't know it was 1954 at all. It was done in Technicolor, really, really ahead of its time, and went on all the way up until Google. Like, every kid's home way into Google, like right up until 1995. Like every kid had it in their house, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Like every generation had it, because it's Walt Disney. It was that good. Technicolor, amazing. Don't watch any of the previews. Like I went through and I watched it, and they go straight to don't watch anything. Just go straight and watch the movie from the beginning. Don't be stupid. Like I can just guarantee you right now, like you want to just watch it. Don't. You will regret it. You can if you want to, but you'll regret it. I regretted it. I regretted it big time. I regret it. I was like, what was I think I should have known? Because they like to tear apart and dissolve. That is the agenda. They love to tear apart and dissolve. Like, do they ever put up happy things of Shirley Temple? Do they ever put up happy, positive things of Shirley Temple's work? No. No, they don't. No, they don't. They never ever put up anything positive about Shirley Temple, do they? Nope. No, they only tear down their memory. That's all they ever do. Nope, that is the agenda, to tear down and destroy and dissolve society. Nope. So don't do that. Just go and see it for yourself from the beginning and have an amazing ride. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, huge adventure. Huge adventure. Kirk Douglas, the father of Michael Douglas, the guy who's like never done a bad movie except for like one or two, and very, very hard to do in Hollywood. Absolutely incredible. But so Kirk Douglas is also one of those actors, did an amazing, has a huge legendary guy in Hollywood, and just groundbreaking film work. You'll see why. You'll be like, this is 54. You'll be shocked that it's 54. And try and get a digital good copy. And well, you will. Just if anyone has it, it'll be a really good copy. I think I saw that. I'll let you do it. So, and then James Mason's in it. It's Walt Disney. You just got to see it. Just adventure. Great for kids. But it's just, once again, Disney does this thing where it's good for the whole family. It's just good for the whole family. You've got to know it. You've got to know it. And I'm trying to think if we ever watched it without adults present. Like, it was re-released in theaters all the time. It was re-released in parks all the time. Like, well into the late 80s. Like, it had to be. So, for sure, I was shocked to see it was 54. I was like, that can't be possible. That can't be possible. That doesn't line up with any of the... They were doing it that late. They were doing that late in the game, right up into 95. That's just crazy. That's how legendary it was. But when you think about it, they were doing the same thing with Cinderella. They were doing the same thing with Bambi. They were doing the same thing with all of them. It just, Walt Disney just did that good of a job with stories. He did the classic tale of he knew how to do, just like animation. He knew how to do animation. I told you those 5 rules of animation. He knew how to tell story so far down in the detail. And that's something I really want you to watch. Like I did see when I was watching the clips, I was like, he did the same thing that he does on the rides. He didn't offer, even today's stories when they do sets, they don't get that detailed. In 1954, you know? So, like, I was like, I want to go on that ship, like, now. Now. I'm like, I want to go on that ship. I want to go on that ship. Yeah. All right, so, you know, I dare you to animate that detailed. Come on now. Nope. Really thought it out. Knew what kids like. Kids like detail. It just pulls this adventure out of you. And then finally, and this is just because it's the order I wrote it in, finally, this is such a great capsule, finally, To Kill a Mockingbird. And that was on my list, like, before anything happened, like, way before. Okay, To Kill a Mockingbird is a black and white film, 1962, and I learned about this one in school because it was taught in schools. It used to always be taught in schools. And there's a reason they've taken it out of schools. They said it made kids uncomfortable. And I don't think, like, I know why they took it out of schools. They took it out of schools because they don't want people remembering why. I mean, they don't want people remembering what things used to be like. If you remember what slavery was like, if you remember what the Deep South was like, if you remember, and what To Kill a Mockingbird is about is there was a black man in town, and I didn't even notice it. I didn't remember it this way until Dinesh D'Souza sent out a tweet during the Kavanaugh hearings, and I was like, oh my God. And I flipped out because this was such a close story to me. Close story. This is such a close story to me that I actually visited. When I traveled across country, I actually visited the where the writer was born and raised, and where she wrote so much of her stuff. And it turns out, like, the courthouse was like there, and I got to sit in the court, and I swear I spent like an hour taking photographs in that courthouse. Like, you have no idea, because she based it on her town. And it turns out, like, the story, and it was such a tragic story, but we were raised to, like, know about justice on this book. This book taught us about how justice used to be in our country, so that we as kids knew not to have justice like this again. Bad justice was supposed to be in our past. And what's the bad justice? Like Dinesh pointed it out. He said, how do they, like, string up a black man? By having a white woman make false rape accusations. I was like, no, like, it just changed it. But I know you guys are going to think of it and you're going to see it. Gregory Peck was in it. And I want you, but it's going to be painful to watch, because that's going to be ringing in your head. I'm going to ask you to try and separate it out and see it this way, as try and imagine it was made in 1962. And it was made before the Civil Rights Movement. And remember, the Civil Rights Act was done in 1964. And it was Hollywood pushing, oh God, now I'm realizing this. I don't really want to discuss the politics of it anymore, because I feel like just due process is important. Due process. So it's about the lawyer that's hired, and no one in the town likes the lawyer for protecting and standing up for this black man and being the justice. And it was like, but someone has to stand up and be the lawyer, because that is our law system. And see, that's a good thing. Like, it's like that is our law. We have a law. We don't, and everyone wanted to just lynch the guy. And he had to stand up and say, no, we have a system of checks and balances. We have a system called due process. And that's what all of us school kids learned, was that To Kill a Mockingbird taught us the importance of due process and why our country is different. That we have due process. We're not like third world countries where there's a lynch mob, where we just had the videotape of, in Mexico, of them dragging what was turned out to be false accusations, dragging a guy out and killing him in the streets. Or in China, where they drag people out in the streets and they kill them. If you do anything, like the mob will say, oh, we're with you. But then if you do one thing here wrong, they'll turn on you and end you. That happens in China. It happens in every country that doesn't have due process. You know, and we have it, and there's a reason they are having the press try and change that in us. Alrighty, so here we are. Capsule number 4. Gosford Park, Italian Job 03. Hunt for Red October. Much Ado About Nothing. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. And To Kill a Mockingbird. One of my favorite movies of all time, by far. Fell in love with it even as a kid. Still in love with it today. I can't believe young kids aren't seeing it, and I can see why they take it out of schools. Parents should know that. They've removed it from schools. And they'll tell you, oh, it makes them uncomfortable. That's the point. It needs to make them uncomfortable so that they'll make sure it never happens in the judicial system again. Do you really want a judge that hasn't seen this movie? Do you really want a lawyer who hasn't seen this movie? That's the whole point. You need to see things that are uncomfortable in order to make sure that it doesn't happen in society ever again. That's the whole point. You have to pass freedom on to the next generation. It's the whole entire point. Whole entire point. Whole entire point. That's what education is. It stretches us. It grows us. And it's black and white. It's so good. And Gregory Peck is so handsome. He's so amazing and beautiful and such a good actor. Oh my gosh, it's so good. And it's so shot well, directed so well. The black and white is like one of those really good artsy, like dramatic, like I still remember the shots to this day. You're really going to love it. You guys who are like art students and like, you know, film school students, you're really gonna get into this. So I think it's actually an amazing capsule to end. Like I said, when I found out the weeks were switched, I actually was really happy because this is such a colorful, it's such a colorful, unique capsule. I really love this capsule. I really, really love this capsule. And it is America. It's America the Beautiful. It's everything good about us. These movies, all of them, none of them could be made anywhere else. You know? Like, these are movies, this capsule could not have been produced in any other country together. This is us. This is who we are. This is who we've been. This is our history. And this is the best of us. And I'm so, so proud. I'm so, so proud to be a freedom fighter. That went mainstream. I'm very, very excited about that. That went mainstream at Restoration Weekend. So, yeah. Freedom fighter. Freedom fighter. That's what we are, and I'm very thankful for this list. So if this video is valuable to you, will you please give a donation down below? Go ahead and buy me a coffee, or please donate something that was equal to the value of this video. And then, yeah, watch one of these videos right here and have an amazing Thanksgiving weekend, not Thanksgiving weekend, have an amazingly thankful weekend, and go ahead and enjoy putting up all those lights, making your lights, and then rest with the movies, and then go do lights, and then rest with the movies, and then, because man, these movies are going to make you want to go pow, and then rest, and then pow, and then rest. That's the best. All right, love you guys. Happy 2018.